Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Nice to see everyone's in town. So, the last couple weeks, we've been really reestablishing our practice, really making sure we understand why we're coming to meditate. What is the purpose of it, right? Initially, we come for a little stress and anxiety relief, but really, what we're looking for is to awaken from this dream of self-absorbed thinking, of obsessive judging, complaining, this dream that we live our lives in. So this is the reason why we're meditating. And then last week we talked about mindfulness as our practice, that we're of course mindful in our meditation as well, but we talk about it here as our more formal practice outside of our meditation, where we're putting effort towards being more familiar with our experience, becoming more aware of our experience, what's happening, catching ourselves when we're going up into the dream, and then using tools, primarily our senses, to help bring us back into the present moment so that we can come back into experiencing our lives again, which is what we want to do. We want to learn how to experience our lives, not dream our lives, because our dreams often turn into nightmares. And that's not living, right? That's just, a fantasy land, and it's not a good fantasy land. So we wanted to establish, I just wanted to make sure that we were very clear on what it is that we're doing, what the practices are that we're doing. And then on top of that, we have the wisdom teachings, which help us give an intellectual framework and understanding of what it is that we're doing. Where are we going wrong? And where we're primarily going wrong is our views. The views of the world, the views that we have about the way the world is, are incorrect. And I don't mean incorrect, or I don't mean from a moral standpoint that good or evil, but from the standpoint is, are your views causing suffering? Are they causing suffering to you or others? If they are not correct views. So this is what we're looking at. This is what we look at each week, and we've been doing for a couple of years now, really looking at our views, trying to unpack these views, because every view that we hold is a little neural pathway in our brain, a little circuit that we have strengthened over time to hold that view in our head. So this is why when information comes in through our senses, through sight, through sound, touch, taste, and smell, we don't see it purely. We see it through this lens of what's our view of the world. Not just our view, but also just how we're feeling at that particular moment, any memories, experiences. But our view is really what is the glue that holds it all together. And so the incorrect view that I want to look at today is dealing with difficult people. Because we have the view that we shouldn't have difficult people in our lives, right? And this came out of last week's class. We had a few questions on it. I had some other people come to me with this recently. It was yesterday's Remindful Monday, for those of you that are on my newsletter list. It seems to be coming up quite a bit. And so I thought, let's take this opportunity and let's start with the view that there shouldn't be difficult people in our lives, right? That unrealistic view. Hello, come on in, Jane. Oh, I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Come on in, don't worry. We're just happy to have you here. So feel free, get yourself set up, grab a cushion. Okay. So we have this view, this completely preposterous and unrealistic view that we should never have difficult people in our lives. And it sounds ridiculous, right? It sounds ridiculous here. Of course, we know there's always going to be difficult people. But then what happens is we don't really believe that's true. So we go out into the world with our wrong view, with our incorrect view. And then the difficult person comes into our lives. And what happens when those two meet, when we have that accident, we go right up back into the dream again. Oh, this person's so annoying. I can't believe I have to deal with them. They shouldn't be doing this. They're so unkind. Why would they do this? They should change. They're just so unreasonable, right? The dream that keeps alive, the story that we start spinning. And what keeps that story going, because at this point we don't think it's a dream. I'm right. They weren't kind to me. They did cut in line. They did take advantage of me. I'm right. So this isn't the dream that you talk about, Meredith. This is, I'm right about this. And that makes us stick even further in the dream. We hold on to that rightness, that they shouldn't be doing that. They're a horrible person. And we can spend hours in this dream. We can have a 5-minute interaction with someone, carry them with us for the next few hours. Maybe not continuously, but we go weave in and out of it. They keep coming back in. The next day, we still haven't seen them again. And they're still with us. And we're still furious about what they did. And all we're doing at that point is reinforcing that neural circuit that believes we shouldn't have difficult people in our lives. We're strengthening that neural pathway in our brain. We're not breaking it down. We are reinforcing that belief the more we stay stuck up in that dream. And when we're in the dream, what's happening is that because we feel attacked by this person, we feel threatened by this person in some way, we have the adrenaline, the cortisol, the norepinephrine, our muscles tense up, our heart starts beating quickly. We do feel like a victim at that stage. We feel threatened at that stage. And so then we're highly reactive to anything that happens. And then maybe we see that person a week later. So a week goes by and we don't see them, but we've carried them with us. They've been there when we close our eyes and go to sleep at night. They shouldn't have done that. They're so bad. They should do this. They should come to meditation class. Why aren't they coming here? Right? They. Right? And then we reach a boiling point and we blow up. Right? We've been waiting for them to say that one line because now we've got the line that's going to snap them back to reality, right? We're trying to goad them into it, trying to steer them there to say it, and they don't say it, but that's okay. I'm going to find something to jump on here. And we blow up. It doesn't even have to be that person, because once we start to get into that highly reactive state, right, where our nervous system is out of balance, our nervous system is feeling threatened, right, and we're feeling threatened, it just takes one little thing that someone else does, and then we blow up on them, right? And then we're just going from one dream to another dream, because now it's like, I can't believe I did that. I'm a spiritual practitioner. I should know better than doing this. Now I've turned into the difficult person, right? And then we start beating ourselves over our head, right? It's just one dream goes into another dream, goes into another dream. They're all just dreams. They're all just stories, but they're held together by our wrong views. Our views that cause harm to us or cause harm to other people. And we just keep reinforcing that neural network in our brain that believes it. And this is a really challenging one, difficult people, because it feels so personal, right? But they said it to me. They ignored me. They said that I was a bad person. They cut in front of me. It comes back to me, and we do take it so personally. And it's more emotional when we take it personally. But it's not personal, because this same experience is happening millions of times all over the world. There's difficult people everywhere. So we're not the only ones. But in that moment we feel like I'm the only person in the world that's having someone be mean to me right now. I'm the only person in the world that's being inconvenienced. It's happening everywhere. And that's what I mean when I say it's not personal. You can't come into this world and think that you're going to escape difficult people or criticism or blame or being judged by others. This is the world that we live in. But we create and we almost search for this utopia where it doesn't exist, where that difficult person isn't there, right? We can even think of La Ventana, right? Most people, as we tell our friends where we're going down here, it sounds like a utopia, doesn't it? It's wonderful, the weather's beautiful, we kite surf, we windsurf in the afternoon, we go to yoga, we go to meditation, we go to pickleball, we go out for dinner and it's only 100 pesos, it's so cheap to live here, It sounds wonderful, right? And yet here, people deal with other difficult people. And even just yesterday, I was driving out of the campground, and And I was backing up, and I saw this woman kind of behind me, and I was nowhere near her, but I just said, "Hey, don't worry, I see you." And she just had this scowling look at me, and I was like, "Really? Nowhere near you." And she said, "Oh, I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at all these cars over here. They're blocking my view. And why does one person need all these cars?" And she was going on a tirade. I mean, she was just out of control. And what's funny is at the end, and she goes, I'm at the end of my patience. And I thought, well, I think we've actually passed that. But this is what's interesting, is that people believe that there's some kind of, again, she thinks there should be no difficult people. And of course, at that moment, I wasn't going to say, I think you have a wrong view. Let's talk about that. I just kept saying, I'm sorry I'm sorry for whatever this other person is doing, how you think they're harming you right now. But there's this belief that, okay, well, there's difficult people, but can I just grit my teeth through it? How long can I be patient for? Right? That's patient kind of assumes, although we tend to give people compliments when they say you're very patient, but it also kind of assumes that we're trying to keep the lid on something, right? That we can only do it for so long, right? And so that's not how we're trying to pull the thread out of this. Not with patience, not with willpower. We're trying to see the situation for what it really is. We're trying to see that, oh, it's my view that's incorrect. It's not that there shouldn't be difficult people in the world. It's that I believe there shouldn't be difficult people in my world. Because I believe that you should have to deal with difficult people, and you should have to deal with difficult people, and you should have to deal with them. But I shouldn't have to, because that's not my view of the world. And so what really, these people, when they come into our lives, when we have these difficult people, they really are shining a spotlight for us, showing us that we have a view that's incorrect, that we are holding on to something that's not true. So they're helping us, and we can really even look at them as our teachers. And I have a saying, and I've given it to a few people. I don't know, I might have mentioned it in class before, I can't remember now, but I like to call them Ajahn. Ajahn Jack, Ajahn Jill, right? That Ajahn is a term that's used in the Thai forest tradition of Theravadan Buddhism. And so if you've been a monastic for a certain period of time, you become an Ajahn, which is a teacher. And I like to use that word more than even just teacher, because it kind of goes, Ajahn Jack, what are you teaching me right now? What wisdom are you trying to impart on me that you don't even realize you're doing, right? It helps us to see, and it helps us to break out of the, they're just so awful, they're blah, 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 to just say, Ajahn Jack, Ajahn Jill. Yes, thank you. You're teaching me something. I'm learning something here. So we can refer to them that way and really help to remember that they really are. If we're reacting in a negative way, if we're reacting in a way that's harming us and harming others, and we are harming ourselves. When we're in the dream, we are harming ourselves. That woman yesterday, you could see how painful it was for her as she was screaming. Right? It was a little bit painful as I was, hearing it. She probably actually now thinks I'm a difficult person because, of course, I didn't, agree with her. I didn't meet the challenge of, yes, he shouldn't be doing all that. What should we do about it? So I might have turned into the difficult person now. But, we can't avoid it, but we can reframe it and help and use these people that are going to be in our lives. Let them shine a spotlight on what work we need to do. Help us see where our views are incorrect. And we can do other things as well, like when we have those interactions with people that are difficult, that are negative, that are toxic. And I find just when you walk away from them, just immediately, I forgive, I forgive, I forgive. Not saying I forgive you, not saying I forgive me. I'm just saying, I forgive, I forgive, I forgive, and putting my hand on my heart. Because what that does is it's a compassion practice that opens my heart and stops me from going up into the dream that closes my heart. And then starts to distort reality and then paint these people with all sorts of horrible qualities that we exaggerate. We make them seem worse than they really are, right? And so just by bringing in, just saying, I forgive, and maybe we do get to the point, we talked about this last week with the mindfulness as a self-compassion practice, Maybe we get to the point that we say, I forgive myself for not liking them. I forgive myself for having a thought while they were talking that I can't stand them, or something. I forgive, maybe we turn into then I forgive myself. Maybe it turns into I forgive them. But we say it, and I mean it, like say it 100 times if you have to. I forgive, I forgive, I forgive. It will stop you from going into the dream, and then enough time will have lapsed that you're away from that person, and you're like, yeah, it wasn't pleasant being with that person, but I didn't take them with me. I went straight into a practice that actually helped me stay here, that helped to open my heart to stay present, that helped me not go up into the dream and make the situation worse than it really is. So we have, calling the Mahjong, saying I forgive. Loving kindness meditation is really the practice that helps us with this. Who's familiar with loving kindness meditation here? You're familiar, Kurt. Yeah. And we did it last year. We did it in the retreat.
Well, from you, yes.
Oh, yes, sorry.
More on the online piece.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you Ashley. I'm like, no, you did. We did a whole retreat on compassion practices. But we did, in fact, on the retreat, because we did all sorts of compassion practices. But loving kindness is the practice that covers them all, right? We have all these little practices that we can do, but you don't even have to worry about all that. The loving kindness practice is the one that covers everything. Because in loving kindness, and this is the meditation we're going to do today, what we do in loving kindness is and I'm not going to give full instructions, so for those of you that aren't familiar with it, I'm going to guide you, so don't worry, but I just want to talk about the general principles, is that what you're doing is you're extending good wishes and good thoughts of kindness and love and forgiveness to yourself and then to other people, maybe a benefactor, someone who's helped you, your family, your friends, a neutral person, and then we always end with a difficult person. So we get to that stage where we've been sending all these good thoughts to ourselves and everyone else that we kind of like, and even getting down to that neutral person, and then we go to the difficult person, when our hearts are really open at that stage, and we're seeing very clearly at that stage. And then we just extend thoughts of loving kindness to them, to even them, that they want to be happy, they want to be accepted, they want to be included. And we don't have to start with the most difficult person, right? We don't have to make this too challenging for ourselves, because we want to be able to keep coming back to the practice. But if you have someone that's just giving you a little bit of challenge, or if you want to go for the really difficult one too, that's okay to try that. But to get into this practice of still sending good thoughts of kindness and love and forgiveness to even difficult people. This is how we break down those neural pathways in our brain that has the view that difficult people shouldn't be in our lives. Because when we can see that we don't have to like them, we don't have to want to be around them, right? We don't have to seek them out, but we can still wish for them to be happy. Because we know what it's like. In fact, most difficult people really do have some challenges going on internally. They're in pain. When you're not happy, when you're unhappy, it's a domino effect. We don't pass on happiness. So it really is a reflection of something that's going on inside them. And I don't say that we then forgive their behavior. I'm not saying that we do want to get to the stage of forgiving their behavior. It's not that they're not held accountable for their behavior, that they're not responsible for their behavior, because everyone has to walk their own path. And everyone is, the heir to their own actions, right? If I do harm, I'm going to get some harm back in some way, right? So we're not taking that away from them, but we can understand maybe that there's something going on in them, that they're not feeling whole in some way, that there's some kind of lack that's happening inside of them, that someone's maybe been mean to them, and they don't know how to handle it skillfully. And so often people lash out because they just don't really know how to be in any other way. So at least we can have some understanding and then to get to some forgiveness for them. And then, of course, there is always a time when we also have to do something, right? If there's someone in our lives that's really toxic, that we have to do something and separate ourselves from them. Because we can't change that other person. The only thing that we can do is change inside who we are. And so by doing these practices, by referring them as to, as our ajahn, right? Really, and I am serious, like we're not doing it in a cursory way, but in a really sincere, like, oh, you are my teacher. The people that are nice to us, our best friends, that everyone loves us and says nice things to us, and and it's wonderful to have them, but we're not getting so much growth out of that. These are the people that are really kind of going, hey, you still got some stuff going on in there. So they are our teacher. By bringing in self-compassion and forgiveness, just remembering to say this, right? Saying, doing the loving kindness practice, continuing to open our hearts, doing our meditation practice, doing our mindfulness practice. These practices, the only way to tear down our old belief systems is to do the practice. We have to do the practices or it doesn't work. It's like riding a bicycle with the training wheels on, and every day you go home and you read the manual, and oh, this is how you take them off, and this is how you ride without the training wheels. You go, oh, okay, I understand that. And then keep riding with the training wheels on, right? You're never going to get to ride the bike if you don't take the training wheels off. And the way that we do that is the practice. And this is where I know a lot of people get stuck in making this a daily practice. It's not easy. It's not easy to meditate every day because our minds just lie to us constantly. You don't need to meditate right now. Let's go get a cup of coffee. Let's relax. Let's go for a bike ride. Let's do this. I'll get to it later. We know we never do, right? Because then it gets to the end of the day. Oh, wait, I've got to do this, and we're going out. Where are we going for dinner? Oh, and I've got to bake something, and I've got to go to the store, and then I've got to do this. And then we get to the end of the day, and we're like, oh, I didn't do it today. Tomorrow I'll meditate, right? Our mind is really good at putting off this practice, this simple practice. 20 minutes. 20 minutes is all we need to do. 20 minutes in the morning. Ideally, we get to 20 minutes a night. You can always do more. I meditate a lot more than that because I want the benefits. I see the benefits of it. So it's really how much you're willing to put into it. But if we can just get to that, 20 minutes in the morning will make such a difference. It changes the neural pathways in your brain. It increases, we've talked about this in the first class again, it increases the number of neural connections in your prefrontal cortex. So the part of our brain that helps us manage our emotions, reasoning, weigh up the consequences of our behavior. So when we feel ourselves starting to go, oh, I am going to lay into them, and then it goes, no, you're not going to like that. Don't do that, right? Even though it feels so good in that moment, no, I'm going to tell them how I feel. And you can see it in your prefrontal cortex, stops you from doing it. Your amygdala, which is the emotional part of your brain that wants to do it. Tell them what you think. Put them in their place, right? Decreases activity in there. And it creates more awareness in the parts of our brain that have more awareness. And when we're doing loving kindness practices, really amping up those parts of our brain for compassion and empathy for others, which is a much more harmless way to live our lives, right? And so we do want to really make sure that we're coming to this path, and that if you're serious about this path, that you understand you have to do the practices. It's not enough to come here once a week and listen. It's better than nothing. I will say it's better than nothing. But you're still going to get caught in that dream. That dream is so painful. It hurts. Just 20 minutes. And there are all sorts of, if you're having difficulty, I just want to address this for a minute, just because I had this conversation with a few people this past week that were having difficulty with difficult people. And I would come back and like, are you doing your practice? No. Are you using your mindfulness bracelets? So for those of you that don't have them, we can go through mindfulness bracelets. Are you doing compassion practices? We have new bracelets for those of you that haven't been here. Always be kind. To remember when we're beating ourselves, when we're in a state of, when we're in that dream of being disappointed in someone else or angry at someone else, we're not being kind to ourselves. That's our number one practice. Always be kind. Always be kind. So please grab a bracelet if you need one. And it starts, though, on the mat. It starts every day. If you're not liking the meditation practice you're doing, let's find a different meditation practice for you. If you just find you can't meditate at all, like on your own, start with guided meditations. There are so many out there. There's an Insight meditation timer app that I use as my timer. And there are thousands of guided meditations on there for anything you can imagine. They've got a guided meditation on there. Do the guided meditations. Get you into the practice, to get you established in doing this. The difficult people will be there. There will be periods, and this is where we can start to fool ourselves as well, where we have periods where we don't have any difficult people in our lives. And the washing machine's not leaky, and there's not a crack in the wall, and everything's just going great. And we're like, yeah, I got this. I'm just cruising now, because this is what spiritual practice is about, right? Everything works. Nothing's broken. No one's mean to me, right? And then we fool ourselves into thinking we've done the work. That's not reality. Reality is things break. Reality is people are mean to us sometimes. Not always, but sometimes, right? Reality is, sometimes we feel discomfort, right? This is the world that we live in. So we want to have tools to be able to help see our views that are causing us direct harm, and to break down those views and replace them with new views that don't cause harm to us. But do not underestimate how strong that neural network is for the old beliefs. So let's just close our eyes just for a moment.